everybody, and welcome to LA Rams Central. This is the 59th episode. Once again, we're going to cover all of the games that were played. Pretty excited about where things are at right now, as a Ram fan, I certainly am. The 6 main games that we'll cover. We already touched on Carolina and Tampa Bay, or Carolina and Philadelphia, so we don't have to do that. We'll be brief with some, and we'll go into detail on others. So here's one we're going to be brief on. Miami at Atlanta. Will the real Falcons please stand up? Because I'm confused, Eric, if this is a bad loss for Atlanta or if maybe Miami was better than we all kind of expected them to be. It's hard for me to say because I hear people say, and they're not wrong, that the Falcons were 2 plays away from being a 1-4 team. But you know what? 2 plays or not, they were still 3-2 going into this game, and now they're 3-3. And I don't know. My Super Bowl picks in general look like garbage right now. Not as bad as your Giants, but nonetheless bad. So I watched a little bit of the Falcon game. Matt Ryan looked average. The running game really never got on track. Miami shut him out in the second half. Once again, a second half collapse for the Atlanta Falcons. 20-17 Miami. I thought the Dolphins defense looked good, but I just don't have a gauge on this football team at all. What did you take away?
They're a difficult team to figure out what's going on with. I mean, a 17-0 lead and you lose 20-17 in your own home stadium. And, I know the fans were expecting more. I'm sure the Falcons organization was expecting more. Just not sure what's going on in Atlanta. I don't know if they finally had that Super Bowl hangover come to them because they had an easy schedule to start with. And it was just a matter of if it would ever catch up to them or not. And looks like it might have, so they might have hit a snag in the road. I wouldn't worry too much. They just need to get Julio Jones the ball more, and they really need to limit Matt Ryan's mistakes because it seems like he's throwing interceptions at inopportune times at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird situation. I don't know. That's a tough loss. And that interception at the end of the game was just brutal. Bears beat the Ravens 27-24 in overtime. What did you think of Mitch Trubisky?
Mitch Trubisky. Well, listen. The Bears did everything they could in the second half to lose this game. And I mean everything. Kickoff return for touchdown. Punt return for touchdown by the Ravens. Trubisky, he is mobile enough to get out of the pocket and keep plays alive. And then when he's able to do that, that opens up your running lanes for Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard had 157 yards rushing. He is in beast mode this year. I mean, he is quietly taking the league by storm. Nobody's talking about him. Everybody's talking about Kareem Hunt and Le'Veon Bell as the other, 2 main guys. They're the hot stuff right now. And Jordan Howard just sitting back saying, you know what, you just keep watching and waiting. Here I come. And they leaned on him, and they actually had overall 3 takeaways. It was their first game this season where they won the turnover battle. They had an interception return for a touchdown. Adrian Amos, former Raven, took one back to the house. To me, it was an all-around effort. Bears are 2-0 against the AFC North. Probably going to win 4 games, all against the AFC North this year. So, if you're Baltimore, you really should be looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, what can we do better? With this loss, John Harbaugh is on the hot seat. I wouldn't be surprised if he is no longer in Baltimore after this season. But we'll get to all those guys, later on in the season. But, it's gut check time in Baltimore right now. Do you want to salvage your season? Flacco looked average. He was missing guys high, missing guys low. Receivers weren't running the right routes. Some footballs were bouncing the way of the Bears. But there's no reason to where the Ravens should have lost that game.
Yeah.
I give the Bears credit. But, forget the but. I mean, Trubisky got his first win in the NFL, which is great because we're starting to hear less and less of the 13 collegiate starts, which is great. But Flacco needs to play better. And when Flacco plays better, the team plays better. The Ravens defense is getting up there in age. The Suggs is still a beast at 35 years old. And they just need a couple more playmakers on that team. And the Bears held the running backs in check, in Allen and Collins. And there was no Macklin, so Flacco was really limited because of the Bears' run defense and injuries in the receiving end. So when you only have Mike Wallace out there trying to run routes,
Howard's 54-yard run in overtime, though, was pretty amazing, considering it looked like the Ravens kind of gave up on the play. And think about this, Eric. If Trubisky finishes the season, he's going to have 13 career NFL starts. So he'll have as many career college starts as he did pro starts when the year is over, as interesting as that may be. Cleveland at Houston, I'll talk a little bit about this one. Kevin Hogan, he didn't look good in the first half, but he did look a lot better in the second half. And I know they benched him and they're going to end up going back to Kaiser, but the Browns better be looking for a quarterback next year because I don't think Kaiser's the answer, and they're not obviously going to be patient enough for Hogan. But I feel bad for whoever they pick up in the draft because the Browns organization just is not comfortable with quarterbacks. They don't give them time to develop, and they immediately make ridiculous reactionary decisions off of their play. And it pisses me off. But as far as this game goes, Deshaun Watson looked great. We knew he would. The Browns are a bad football team. This is what happens when you bring baseball people in to run a football team. You get 0-5 records and you look bad doing it. And I know they surprise everyone with the draft, but when you've got a head coach that doesn't know who to start and still doesn't put Duke Johnson in the starting lineup as a starting running back over Isaiah Crowell, and you still have a quarterback that was pulled in Hogan after one game without any real opportunity to kind of see if he can grow in the position, putting Jabril Peppers in the wrong position and playing him all year and going, look, he's a draft bust. I mean, it's just mistake after mistake after mistake in that organization. And Hugh Jackson had no business getting hired in the first place. He was a garbage head coach before. We talk about recycled dog crap. He's recycled dog crap. Keep him as an O coordinator. That's what he's good at. Never give the man another head coaching job. That's my humble opinion. Not a lot to say about this game. Houston looked good. Cleveland looked like Cleveland.
I do want to add one thing. I heard a rumor that Cleveland benched Kaiser for Hogan in this game so that Cleveland wouldn't look silly starting Kaiser when he was up against Watson.
That's pretty ridiculous, but believable.
But believable. When you bench Kaiser and you start Hogan, and of course Hogan doesn't do well, and then the next week you go back to Kaiser, stop playing quarterback musical chairs.
Yeah.
Pick a quarterback and stick by it.
Yeah.
That is the one way to ruin a quarterback week in and week out and not give anyone any consistency. Stop playing musical quarterback chairs. Pick a darn quarterback and let him play the rest of the season.
See what you got.
That means Kaiser 6. And he comes into camp a little bit more prepared next year.
I agree. Or at least keep Kaiser in and deal with it. As simple as that.
Right. Take your lumps now. Let him learn on the job. Okay, that's what the Bears are doing. I mean, the Bears won't go back to Glenn unless Trubisky's out with an injury. There's no injury. Right. Trubisky might, throw 3 or 4 picks in a game. They're not going to break him out.
Yeah. Green Bay at Minnesota. So we talked about Green Bay winning with only one person on their roster that's any good. We never pondered the question what would happen if that player got hurt, but lo and behold, broken collarbone out for season. Now the Green Bay Packers, which were built, and this is why so many Packer fans, I talked to one today at the gas station, can't stand Mike McCarthy because I said, you guys are in trouble. You built your team around one guy, and he's like, I know. And us in Green Bay are pissed about that because we've been saying for years we need to build a team around Aaron Rodgers instead of building, or just having Aaron Rodgers and hoping he'll fix all the problems. He's not a Mike McCarthy fan for that reason exactly. You take the only good player, and yes, I'm saying it, sorry Jordy Nelson fans, you take the only good player off the Green Bay Packers, and you watch this team finish 5-11, 6-10. Mark my words. They looked bad in defeat against Case Keenum and that vaunted offense, and they still couldn't move the ball. I know the Vikings have a good defense, but when you have nobody else to lean on besides your one person, and you lose that one person, you reap what you sow.
Well, it's more than just Mike McCarthy. It's also the GM, Ted Thompson. He refuses to splurge on any type of free agents.
Yeah.
His last big free agent signing overall was Julius Peppers when he was in Green Bay.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that tell you?
Yeah.
He'll get a guy here and there to plug a few holes, but he's not going to go and make that big tax shot. And I've heard from a lot of Packer fans too, and it really ticks them off. And I follow quite a few football people on Twitter, and one that I have a lot of respect for in the football world is from the NFL Network, Mike Silver. I think he has a lot of great insight. The reason why I bring him up because he every year rips on the Packers in free agency time. Ted Thompson, what are you doing here? Ted Thompson, why aren't you good? Why aren't you going out and getting this guy? Ted Thompson, this guy would be perfect for you. Like, he is always on the Packers behind saying, why aren't you guys going after this? Because he's like, you have to build around Rodgers. See, the interesting connection there is that Mike Silver went to Cal. Aaron Rodgers went to Cal. So they kind of, I don't want to say they kind of know each other. They might, obviously, because they're in football. But, he watched Rodgers play in college. He has followed the Packers because of Rodgers in that way. And it's always year after year. The Packers aren't doing anything in free agency. Who are the Packers not going to get this time in free agency? Because they're going to go to Minnesota. They're going to go to Chicago. They're going to go to Detroit. They're going to go to Dallas. They're going to go to New England. They're going to go somewhere else but Green Bay. It's just fascinating to watch year in and year out in NFL free agency when he starts ripping on Green Bay.
Yeah.
It's not the way to do business. You got to fill your holes. You got to go after that one big name every once in a while.
Well, and then you've got morons like Mike Greenberg, which I honestly don't know why this guy gets paid $1.25 for his analytical ability as an analyst. He's a moron, and he's talking on ESPN radio about we need to have rules to protect guys like Aaron Rodgers. We can't afford to lose guys like Aaron Rodgers. What else do we need to do to protect the quarterback? He literally said he might be okay with a flag. Like, two-hand touch is going too far, but maybe give him a flag. Like, and he meant it. I just shake my head.
He roots for the Jets. His Jets quarterbacks get taken out pretty much on a weekly basis.
Right. What I'm saying, though, Eric, is
he has a small yet significant point. The NFL is not going to go and say, oh, well, should we treat them like kickers that you can't hit them? No, they're quarterback. You wear shoulder pads, you wear a helmet, you wear a uniform, you wear a jersey, you wear pants, you wear pads. Guess what? You're going to get hit. So, it's not like if you kick short of the goal line on the kickoff that your kicker doesn't get railroaded because he's trying to make a tackle and some linebacker comes through on special teams and knocks the block off. It's the same thing.
Well, it's not the same thing, Eric, because a quarterback, Eric, a quarterback cannot be hit if he's not trying to make a tackle on an interception. A quarterback can roll outside the pocket, run towards the sidelines, throw the ball at the last minute, and if you hit him and drive him to the ground, it's a penalty. Like, they are already overly protected. And the problem is, people like Mike Greenberg, we laugh at these comments now, but these are the same jackwagons that made it so you can't hit a quarterback below the waist. You can't hit a quarterback in the helmet. You remember that dumb rule where if your hand came across and grazed the helmet, it was an automatic 15-yard penalty?
Sure do.
Like, these are the people that made those rule changes happen. So let's not pretend like his opinion's insignificant. And that's what bothers me.
You got the Brady rule, you can't hit him low. The only really place to hit him without the crown of your helmet is right in, the midsection. And even then, it looks like you speared him to the ground. Let's throw 752 flags and they get penalized 5,422 yards.
Exactly. And the point that I'm making with this, what irritates me is, if you were watching the Green Bay Packers, other than Mike Silva, that's an understandable reason. It's the same reason I used to follow, Joe Montana and anybody that played for Notre Dame, like Ricky Waters, even though they both went to the Niners. Like, you follow, Derek Thomas of the Alabama Crimson Tide when he got drafted by Kansas City. I get it. You watch your guys. That's why I watch A.J. McCarron. But if you're an average fan and you're like, oh, I like this team because of Tom Brady, and Tom Brady gets injured, then you're not a real fan anyway. And those aren't the people you should be concerned about. It's the people that have been following New England since they were kids. And they've seen good quarterbacks and bad quarterbacks, and they're going to see good quarterbacks and they're going to see bad quarterbacks. If you're a Patriot fan because of Tom Brady and he retires, you were never a Patriot fan, you were a Tom Brady fan. Like, the league is good not because of the players in the league, but because they play a sport I thought we all loved and enjoyed. Now it's more enjoyable when your team is doing well, but that doesn't mean the only reason you watch the game is because of the guys playing the sport. This isn't the NBA. People watch football because they're a fan of a team. And yes, they happen to like guys on their team. But this league isn't run by superstars. And we need to get these idiots like Greenberg out of the equation, because that's what they believe, and that's where they're pushing the league, which is why you're seeing more and more empty seats and worse and worse ratings anyway. It's not just because of the anthem. It's because of antics like this that are driving people away from the game. Trust me, I talk a lot of football with anyone who's willing to have a conversation. And the people that used to watch that don't watch anymore, the reasons are really threefold. And the anthem's a relatively new one. So people are tired of it. If you're going to stop playing football, and if you're going to make these rules in such a way that guys can't play defense, I'm sorry, but a 45-42 overtime score is not exciting. It's the exact reason why I will not watch the NBA. I don't need to see 133-131. I don't. I like defense. I like running the ball. I like football. Because when you run the ball, you're smashing people in the mouth. You can have a smash mouth passing game. You can have good running like the Rams did in the 90s and the 49ers did in the 80s. You can still have a little bit of finesse and smash mouth tied into your offense. But ultimately, it's about running hard and running aggressive between the white lines. And everyone's vulnerable to injury because you're playing a collision sport. And I get sick of people like Mike Greenberg. Sorry, that was a rant.
No, I mean, it's all right. It's all right. I mean, it's good to know where we stand on these types of issues. When somebody of a high profile does get injured, yeah, it sucks that Rodgers is out.
Yeah.
And, I'm not shedding a tear as a Bear fan. And is the NFL better for having, Rodgers in or out of the lineup? Mainly in the lineup? Yeah, but Montana was out for a while. Did the NFL, kick and scream and cry? When Steve Young got injured, was out.
Right, but that's my point. Is I don't think the league.
You will go forth. You will play your games, and it's Brett Hundley's team right now. And he said it right after the game after the Vikings. He said, "That's Aaron on Brett," and he didn't mean Favre. Favre wasn't walking through the door. It was Brett Hundley.
Right.
So.
But see, I do think the league is better, Eric.
He's got to take the reins in the bull by the horns.
I do think the league is better. I think the league is better because now a team like New Orleans, a team like, Seattle, San Francisco, not so much, but LA, Arizona, like these teams are now in the hunt because you're taking a team that has not missed the playoffs in what? They've only missed the playoffs once in 15 years. And now you're all but guaranteeing somebody new is going to be in the postseason. I would argue that is good for the NFL. Yeah, it sucks that Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and it hurts Green Bay Packers, and your heart goes out to, the guy in the football team that lost their best player. But don't tell me it's not better for the league. It's infinitely better for the league. You're going to have a different team in the postseason. And trust me, that's what the NFL is really lacking, is a sense of, and this year really is one of the first years in a long time where I feel like anyone that makes the playoffs in the NFC has a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl. In years past, that's never been the case. So we'll see how it pans out. Detroit, New Orleans, you cover it quickly.
Yeah, well, this game featured a total of 90 points in the game. Detroit lost by 2 touchdowns. Mark Ingram decided to show up and have himself a day. As we know, Adrian Peterson got traded during the week leading up to to the Cardinals. So New Orleans offense and defense decided to show up like all three phases. All three phases for New Orleans showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Breeze had an okay game, but when you're scoring on pick sixes and you're scoring on the ground and your ground game is running and really, churning and making guys miss, and Detroit's defense is out there gashed, you're doing something right in that dome, and that's what New Orleans did. Stafford looked average. Stafford got hurt as well. Stafford's been nursing some injuries to his leg and knee and ankle. But he's not the same guy. Golden Tate also went out with an injury, so that limited their offense. Detroit was in this game in the fourth quarter. They were down 7, and they were driving. And good old Stafford throws a pick 6, and that final score with ends up being by 14. But man, New Orleans hung 52 up, 52 spot up on that board, and they never looked back. Detroit's looking at its wounds, a couple tough games to lose. One the week prior against Carolina, and then this one against New Orleans. So we'll see what Detroit's made out of when they come up to their next game. And I think they're actually on their bye week this week coming up, so that might actually allow them to rest up and whatnot. I'm checking that right now. I just want to make sure. Yeah, they're on their bye week this week, so they'll regroup, they'll nurse their aches and pains. But that was when you lose and get injured in the process, it's never a good recipe for success down the road. But bye week comes at an opportune time for them. But give New Orleans is on a roll. They're on a roll. There was supposed to be a big game coming up for them this weekend, but that's kind of been taking the weight off their shoulders because of an injury to Aaron Rodgers. So you know who they're playing. We'll go through their picks in the next show. But New Orleans is rolling. They're firing on all cylinders. They get Mark Ingram running, and with Alvin Kamara in that backfield catching passes. Oh boy, New Orleans is going to be a locomotive coming down those tracks. You better get out of the way.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. All right, buddy. I want you to look. I'll say this about the Saints. We talked about the Saints being a pretty darn good football team, and I think, to be honest with you, I had them as one of the teams that could make the postseason. I don't believe I picked them to make the postseason. I did not pick them to make the postseason, but I knew they were going to be an improved team with their defense, and I liked the way they looked early on. But nonetheless, I think it's a good football team. I'm going to have you do the Jets-Patriot game, Eric. Go ahead and take it away.
All right. The Patriots started out slow with this game. They're down 14-0. Controversial play in the fourth quarter, but the Jets did everything they could do to let New England back in this game. McCown played well. He was hit 500. He threw for 354 yards. So he was on point. He really did put the Jets in too bad of a position as far as turning the ball over. So he had 2 picks, but they didn't really hurt the team so much to say. But the guy who came in for the Jets to kind of put his mark on the game was tight end Austin Jenkins. The Patriots' run defense kind of held the Jets rushing intact. So was McCown dumping off passes, a lot of passes to Matt Forte. He was hitting Jermaine Kearse, Curley, Robbie Anderson. They have a whole slew of pass catchers out there. But Safarian Jenkins had a touchdown, and the Jets were driving again in the fourth quarter. And McCown hit Safarian Jenkins out in the flat. He was going toward the end zone, got hit, bobbled the ball slightly. And I mean, it was the slightest of bobbles. He didn't lose it, and then recovered it. He bobbled it slightly as he was going out of bounds. They ruled that the pylon, and he was quote unquote bobbling it. They ruled it a touchback for New England, and everybody was all up in arms. Oh, the refs are getting paid off by the Patriots, and Patriots are getting a gift from the refs and whatnot. Something about Jets Patriots, they're on the records, and those two teams play each other brutally and hard, and they throw everything they have at this game. So, the Jets were coming up, a touchdown short. They put up a great fight. They were going for their fourth win of the season. That would have been huge for the Jets if they could have pulled that one off. They would have had first place all alone. But I did not agree with the call. I didn't think that there was too much of a bobble that you could overturn it. But apparently somebody in New York was saying, hey, Patriots, they get the call. Give them the ball. Now, do I think that it really happened? No. Okay. But everybody seems to think the Patriots get the calls. I'll let you decide for yourself on that. Are you back, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right.
I wasn't gone. I was listening.
The Patriots did what they could to win the game. The Jets, I don't want to say they tried to give the game away because they were in the game the whole time, but that Safarian Jenkins call
it was awful.
Completely not even liable.
No, look, the fumble that Gurley had against Seattle, as much as I hate it, it was a fumble. The ball clearly hit the pylon. He didn't have possession of it. Regained possession out of bounds. That's a touchback. I don't like it, but it was the right call. That game, he regained possession while still going over the pylon. If the pylon goes all the way around the earth, then it shouldn't matter that you bobbled it over the pylon if you regain possession over the pylon. And again, it was a pass play. So they kept saying that, well, he had to complete the process of the catch. Are you kidding me? It was the catch rule, Eric. That's what came up here. That's exactly what came up here. I thought once you made a football play towards the end zone, you were no longer a pass catcher, you were a running back. And the last time I checked, anytime you had possession of the ball over the goal line, it's a touchdown. Am I wrong?
Nope.
He was clearly a runner. Yes, he bobbled it. Yes, he regained possession. Yes, he was still in the air. Yes, it's a touchdown. He didn't catch the ball, get flipped up in the air and do all that. But, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Patriots, people say the Patriots get all the calls. They do get the benefit of every call. This has gone on for far too long. The Tuck rule, that's no longer a rule in the NFL, was done specifically to ensure the New England Patriots win the game against the Oakland Raiders. And this is exhibit 9,452. So we can pretend like the league doesn't give the Patriots the benefit of every single call they can possibly give, or we can address reality. And reality is, when you play the Patriots, you aren't playing against 11, you're playing against 16. The 5 officials on the field and the 11 guys on offense and the 11 guys on defense. That's what you're up against. And you just need to know that going in. If it's close, they're getting the call. Don't let it be close. That's what Kansas City did. That's what Carolina did. They held the ball until the very end and made sure everything was nip and tuck on the way, so there was no chance of them going up. Can't do that. That's none of it. So, I don't know. It's a terrible call. They're not going to justify it. They're wrong. But once again, the league, I was watching a thing on the NFL Network where they were like, oh, looking at the call, it was the right call, and here's why. And it's like, well, even your own former officials in the league said it was a bad call. But once again, that's the other reason people are tired of the NFL. They're sick and tired of being told to their face they're an idiot when they know the rules better than the jackwagons in the booth. And that's the reality of it. So, Patriots got a gift, but as a coach, I will tell Jet fans what they don't want to hear. That play happened in the second quarter, correct? In the fourth quarter. With how much time?
Looking it up.
We're waiting for Eric to find it. I want to say there was still.
After Gostkowski's 28-yard field goal made 24-14, 50 seconds into the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
New York appeared to make it a one-score game again on its next possession as Austin Safari and James took a short pass from McCown and reached over the goal line for a 4-yard touchdown.
Yeah. So they had plenty of time to still make plays, is the point I'm making.
Yeah, they did.
And they lost. Sorry, Jet fans. Tough loss. But you got one this week you should win. You got Miami.
Well, let's also, I know you might not like this. You said you respected Brady before, so I'm going to throw this out there as well. The win against the Jets put Brady in a league by himself as far as all-time wins.
Yep. Well, and that's why people are like, that's what they wanted. They wanted the streak to happen that week and not have to wait. I don't know why they would want. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. If anything, if they were going to fix something like that, they would do it in New England against Atlanta in a rematch of the Super Bowl.
The only problem I have with you saying that the Patriots opponents don't play against 11, they play against 16, is that Brady suspended 4 games last year. Because if they got all the benefit of the doubt, then he would have never been suspended. That's a different story for another day.
Well, okay. No, I can answer that quickly. I didn't say Goodell feels that way, but Goodell doesn't obviously have control of anything. The players to the officials to anything. So, Goodell wanted that suspension to uphold because, it was an ego thing for him. But, I don't think the officials are working for Roger Goodell. They're working for the NFL. And Roger Goodell is working for the owners. And they'll do what's best for football. And they think what's best for football is the same teams in the postseason every year. So they'll keep going with that theme as long as they can. But you're right. We can have that extended conversation another time. Washington at home against San Francisco. I didn't like the way the game ended. I thought Washington kind of slept on the Niners a little bit and let that one get away. They had full control of the game until Beathard Jr. came in the game, and then Bobby Beathard's son just tore up the Washington Redskins defense, or grandson, whoever he is. Either way, he killed his former team. I was a little disappointed in the Redskins defense, but then I started realizing, well, wait a minute, they were without Jonathan Allen. They were without 4 of their cornerbacks at the end of the game. They were playing with basically backups who were also injured, and they still managed to find a way to hold on for the victory. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's a good win for the Niners, but I remind Ram fans that we barely beat the Niners in San Fran on a sack at the end of the game with the benefit of a pass interference penalty to boot. So it's hard for me to sit here and say this looks bad for Washington. A win is a win is a win. They're 3-2, and now they have a big game coming up at Philadelphia, which is a game I think is going to be the game of the week. If there ever was such a thing as America's Game of the Week, I think that's the one. I really like the way Cousins played. The Redskins' running game looks like it's getting on track. They just need to get healthy on defense. Their defense represents a morgue more than it does an NFL defense at this point. And they got more guys on the IR than friggin', the Rams have losses in the 90s. It's just ridiculous. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's a bad win, but I am going to sit here and say that they could have won more impressively. My takeaway from that is that the Redskins are the number 2 team in the NFC East, and they get a chance to go back to Philadelphia and avenge a very bad call by an official that cost them the game at home against Philadelphia in Week 1. What did you take away from the Redskin-Niner game?
What I took away from this, just to add on to Washington, they've lost Jonathan Allen for the rest of the year to a foot injury, so that's going to be a major hole in your defense. Yeah. I was very impressed with C.J. Beathard. There's no way you can go back to Brian Hoyer. I think Beathard, here's how I look at it. Beathard is shoot Trubisky. Beathard is shoot Trubisky is what Hoyer is for Fleming.
Yeah.
That's how I have to put it, because Hoyer didn't move the offense, but they stayed in games. They were able to stay in games. Glennon wasn't able to move the offense. It wasn't Glennon, it was a running back.
Yeah.
But they were able to stay in some games. Now, they did get hammered in Tampa. But as soon as Trubisky came in, the whole Bears offensive dynamic changed. Not like where it was so much better, because they still don't have any pass catchers. But Beathard made that 49er offense go. And he did so much half quarters than what Hoyer's done all season. And there's no way they can go back to Hoyer unless Beathard gets injured.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought San Francisco had a chance to win the game. Basically, they came down to it. Wasn't there like an interception throw or something?
Yeah, at the end of the game, yeah.
The last couple of minutes in that game, but I thought something that was a turnover.
Yeah, interception at the end. No, interception at the end.
Interception at the end, okay. So, I mean, they went for it, and, Washington did miss an extra point, so San Francisco got into field goal range. Oh, that's right. They had a holding call that backed them up. They were at the 40 of Washington. They had a holding call that backed them up to the 50, and that's when they had to keep it. So if they were able to get in that field goal range, they would have been able to possibly win the game.
Yeah.
However, stupid penalty. Let's hold on, one of the most critical plays in the game. But, Carlos Hyde looked okay. Garcon, didn't show up too much, but he was there to, catch that came his way. But, yeah, Washington pulled it off. I mean, it's a good home win for Washington. I thought it was a big confidence booster with Philadelphia coming up. And they might have been looking ahead to Philadelphia. And that's why this game might have been a little too close for comfort for them. But, San Francisco's getting close. They're going to get a win here or there soon, I think.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're really going nowhere. They're really playing for either Kirk Cousins or a top draft pick for a quarterback or Saquon Barkley. That's one of those three is going to happen, if not two of those three. So, San Francisco's just trying to ride out the season right now. They are one of two teams that are winless so far.
Yeah.
So
now the Cardinals Tampa Bay game. Are you still sold on the Buccaneers?
No, man, I'm starting to get off that line.
Yeah, I told you they're this year's Jaguars. Look, everyone's talking about Adrian Peterson, and rightfully so. You talked about Peterson going to the Cardinals. Well, he had himself a day in Arizona. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The Buccaneers is not the Los Angeles Rams defense. The Buccaneers offense is not the Los Angeles Rams offense. And the Cardinals did everything they could to lose this game at the end. Right now, defensively, they have two corners in the top 10, and none of them are named Patrick Peterson, as far as the rankings go based on statistics. Now, Patrick Peterson is still a lockdown corner. No question about it. But this game, I was more surprised at how poorly the Cardinals defense played. I mean, if Adrian Peterson didn't have the day he had, the Cardinals got smoked in this game. And the fact that he had as good of a game as he did, and that Winston had as bad of a game as he did, is the only reason the Cardinals won this game. Once Fitzpatrick came in, he started gutting the Cardinals defense up and down the field. And I'm taking away two things from the Cardinal game. Peterson played really well, but they're not going to live on Adrian Peterson all year long. And Carson Palmer still looks shaky, and that defense hasn't been fixed. So the Cardinals get a win. They're 3-3, but it's kind of like the Rams last year at 3-3. Like, you knew there were pieces there that were good on offense, like Todd Gurley, but you knew there were pieces on offense that weren't good, like Case Keenum. And you knew their defense was good, but there was signs that they were starting to break down at key moments. And that happened in the Cardinal game. 38-33. They damn near blew a 31-7 or 31-10 lead, whatever the hell it was. I mean, this was an ugly win. But a win is a win is a win, and the Cardinals get momentum going to London. And it's a big game next week between the Rams and Cardinals, obviously. But if I'm a Cardinal fan after this game, I'm a little shaky on this win. I'm glad Adrian Peterson had himself a day. We'll see what he does in London against the Rams defense. He might be able to help them win a few more games than they were going to. But I think if you're sitting here watching this game going, well, Cardinals are 3-3. If they can just beat the Rams, they could be a playoff team. Then you're not watching the game properly, because there were signs there that this is a problem in Arizona. If you can't do what you need to do on defense, and you're relying on a running back who's 40-something years old or 30-something years old, you are in trouble. Now, Adrian is going to help them win football games because he's that damn good. but I don't think he's going to guide them to the postseason by any means. And it does beg the question, Eric, what do the Cardinals do when David Johnson comes back if AP is having, a phenomenal year? Like if he's averaging 130 yards a game. What do they do?
Get them both on the field at the same time.
That's going to be tough to.
You traded for him. You didn't think he was going to do what he did, but if he does continue to do what he did, you can't take him off the field.
No.
Okay, David Johnson should get his touches, but they should be limited because, one more hit on that wrist, or he falls the wrong way on that wrist, he's out again. You don't want Peterson getting rusty. Okay, he is at that age where if you let him sit too long and then you have to rely on him in weeks 14, 15, or 16 to get you into the playoffs, and you're sitting because David Johnson has taken over 98% of the carries, the 3 weeks prior, you're going to lose the momentum you have with Peterson. You have to find a way to get them both on the field, whether or not, you're, shotgun, backs on each side, one stays in the block, one goes out for a pass or whatnot. Bring in Johnson on third downs. There you go, right there. You bring Johnson in on third downs. What do a lot of teams do on third downs? Whether it's 3rd and 2 or third and 92, you're throwing. Most of the time, you're throwing. So, Ed Peterson, give him his work, give him a series off, let Johnson go nuts. It can work. They just have to utilize it the right way. You can't have another New Orleans Saints type of scenario where, come in here, and then you got Mark Ingram, who's already your bell cow. Then you can trade up to draft Alvin Kamara. What kind of message is that send? What kind of message is that send if you say, okay, Adrian, you're not going to be playing until the fourth quarter when we're up by 35?
Yeah.
Get them both on the field at the same time. Make it a dual threat. Especially if your wide receivers aren't performing. Fitzgerald shows up every game, so you don't have to worry about him. But if Nelson is off, Aaron Brown is off, John Brown is off, give the running backs a shot. David Johnson's a great catcher on the backfield. Line him up in the slot.
I agree. Well, we'll see. It's not always that easy, but maybe it can happen. Listen, Kansas City at home against Pittsburgh. I'm going to say this. I'm still not sold on the Steelers. I don't know why Kansas City can't figure this team out. It's really annoying. I was really hoping that Pittsburgh would, that Kansas City would get over that hump. But now, the question begs on Kansas City. But when you look as bad as you did at home against Jacksonville, and you've got another home game coming up against Cincinnati, yeah, it's nice to get this win, but I've learned my lesson in jumping on bandwagons too quickly. And Pittsburgh's one of those teams that may be a proven commodity, but damn, they are old. Go.
Yeah, well, this game was a baseball sport early on. It was 3-2. Kansas City had no offense whatsoever to beat Pittsburgh's defense. So when Pittsburgh's going up and down the field, and credit Antonio Brown for such a remarkable catch in the fourth quarter, 51-yarder where it was tipped. He caught it, let the defender go right by. Should have just hit him right in the freaking stomach or something so he wouldn't get up. Totally whipped on the tackle. Then he goes and scores a touchdown. I mean, that's how you play wide receiver right there. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big touchdown for Pittsburgh. Really put the game out of reach. And what Kansas City falls into this every single time that they are down, and that is they do not throw to their best receiver on the field. The best receiver on the field is Travis Kelce. When you don't utilize Kelce, you're going to lose football games.
Yeah.
Kansas City has fallen into that pattern one too many times. Last drive of the game, Kansas City decided they lost Tyreek Hill on punt return. He did a spin move and then he got leveled by 2 receivers as he was falling out of bounds. And they leveled him. So he was out for that whole drive. So who is Kansas City relying on? Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce, Deshaun Robinson, Albert Wilson. Those guys scare you? Deshaun Kelce? Don't scare me. Don't scare my defense. But that's the problem with Kansas City. Andy Reid loves to not utilize Travis Kelce in those types of situations where he should be your go-to. and Pittsburgh are going to be beaten in the playoffs this winter, in the postseason. And whether or not they're playing in Pittsburgh, whether or not they're playing in Kansas City, you need to get Travis Kelce the ball. He needs to put up big yardage for you to win. If you want to get over that hump of beating Pittsburgh, knowing that they have your number, then now it's starting to get mental. You need to utilize your best players.
Yeah.
Because Kareem Hunt will wear down as your rookie.
Yeah.
He will. All rookies do. They all hit that proverbial rookie wall. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, big win for them. I didn't think they had it in them to go into Kansas City and win. But they proved that they can still play defense when needed. That Ben can still be close to a elite quarterback when needed. And that when you have Antonio Brown making almost circus type catches, hey, you're doing something pretty good. And Le'Veon Bell had 179 yards rushing. Le'Veon Bell's rust has worn off after the first 3 weeks of the season. And he had a decent game against Jacksonville, not the best, because Ben threw 5 interceptions, so you get your touches limited. But he is starting to carry this team, and they are relying on him. Now, they might have a little bit of clubhouse turmoil right now, because there are reports that saying Martavis Bryant requested for a trade, and of course he comes out and says, "No, man, I didn't request a trade." Okay, well, it's one or the other. When you come out and say, "No, you didn't," you kind of believe the other way.
Right.
So I know that there's some turmoil there. His snaps are getting limited, and watch out for Juju Smith-Schuster, or Juju Smith-Schuster, whatever his 2 hyphenated names are.
Yeah.
That kid is going to be something special.
Yeah. Well,
and if Roethlisberger can play up, if he can denounce those, I had 1 foot out the door last offseason of thinking about retiring. If you can put those thoughts aside, come out and play some good football, Pittsburgh's going to be a tough out in the playoffs.
Well, we'll see. I'm not sold that Pittsburgh will even be there yet. I'm not gonna just get that Jacksonville game out of my head just yet. And we'll see what Cincinnati does against Pittsburgh, because they always play the Steelers tough, and it's in Pittsburgh, which is not a place I think the Steelers want to be. I think the Steelers are going to have a better road record this year than a home record, because I think when they look up and they see all those empty seats, I think they're going to be concerned. Because as a player, you need your home crowd, and when your home crowd's not supporting you, sometimes the best thing you could do is go on the road and really get, stick it to the other team. And I got that feeling watching the Steeler game that they were really taken out on Kansas City, but we'll see. We'll see what happens next week. Kansas City. The Oakland Chargers against the Oakland Raiders. I thought this was an interesting game. The team that will be in Oakland next year, or in 2 years.
Seriously, you need to stop. I just keep laughing. Because every week you have a different place for the Chargers that you're playing.
Look, I think that the Chargers will be in Oakland in no time flat when the Raiders vacate. And if that does happen, I will say I told you so. But the Chargers, they went into their new home stadium, and they look really good, I have to say. Sorry. Look, the Raiders look awful. Do you believe the rumors that the Raiders are tanking the season because Carr didn't kneel for the anthem?
I have never heard that.
I saw it on the web. I saw it on the internet. So I thought it was interesting.
Must be true then.
Right? It's got to be true. Well, I don't know about all that. I mean, I think it is interesting that the Raiders have done so poorly since week 2. And they have not protected Carr. But I think it's more that I think the Raiders got exposed by the Redskins. That, for the Raiders' sake, I hope it's true. Because then at least there's a reason, and maybe they can get their head out of their rear end and prove to everyone they can do it and turn it on. But I don't get the feeling it is true. I just don't think that the Raiders are – I think they've quit on the season. I think they thought they should be 5-0, and being where Kansas City was, and I think seeing where they were, Amari Cooper looks like he's non-existent. The running game is nowhere to be found. The offensive line isn't blocking for Carr. That's true, but they're also not blocking for Marshawn Lynch. Their defense was already a problem coming in, and now you lose a division game at home to a 1-4 football team in the Chargers. I mean, this was an ugly loss for Oakland, and it's the kind of loss that eliminates you from the playoffs before you're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
Well, this is what happens when you move the extra point back 20 yards and you miss an extra point.
Yeah.
Because that's what it all boiled down to. Because Oakland was up 16-14. You know, this was much like the Washington-San Francisco game. Okay? This extra point, you go down to one, except San Francisco didn't kick that game-winning field goal. The Chargers drove down the field, literally held the ball until the last possible second. We called timeout, 3 seconds left, and what is their kicker? I know they got a new kicker.
Novak.
It's
Novak.
Yeah, Nick Novak. Because they let go of the rookie a couple weeks ago. But this is what happens when you have no defense, when Khalil Mack is your only defensive player on the team, and you miss. They could have went to overtime. Don't miss the extra play. Could have went to overtime. Okay? Probably would have pulled it up then. But the Chargers are playing decent football. There's only been like one game where they got blown out. Okay? They were in the Denver game. They lost.
Yep.
They were in the Philadelphia game. I think they lost by 7 or 10. They were still in that game for quite a while. But the Chargers are playing decent football, and that's what happens when a missed extra point. You never thought about it when it was a beginning. You never thought, missed extra point, that's no problem. Now it's 25 yards away, and you're like, oh crap, I can barely hit a 25-yard field goal.
Yeah.
Give the Chargers credit. They went into an environment where, obviously they go there every year, but that Oakland fan base is not very forgiving to division rivals. So, yeah, it's a bad loss for Oakland. What can you say? Carr was still limited. No matter what he says, he's going to be limited by that neck injury for the next few weeks, if not the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Had no ground game. Carr wasn't hitting Cooper like he should have been. He was hitting Crabtree. I know he scored a touchdown after missing a week. But, the Chargers are playing good football. Give them credit. Gordon is doing all right, 83 yards. Hunter Henry decided to show up. He had 90 yards receiving, leading all receivers. Mm-hmm. Allen is still healthy. Tyrell Williams is healthy. They're getting Mike Williams back. He was the rookie that they drafted out of Clemson. Who had a little bit of a back injury.
I know.
But, yeah, the Chargers are, I guess you could say, getting healthy. Do I think they're going to make a run in the division? No, not at all. No. Do I think they're going to make a run in the wild card? No, not at all. But they're going to remain competitive in a lot of games this year.
So the upset of all upsets, the New York Giants, who had no aerial assault whatsoever, went into Denver and ran the rock. I think the Giants exposed something. I don't know why Dallas wasn't able to expose it with a better offensive line and better run game. But the Giants looked like they exposed that Denver was vulnerable against the run. This was a surprising win. Obviously, no one in the right mind picked the Giants. Anybody who did pick them, I give you credit. You are smarter than me and a lot of people, or you just flat out couldn't stand Denver and had to pick the Giants. I don't know what to say, but how they went into Denver, which is not an easy place to play, and win. Bronco fans talk a lot of smack. Y'all need to shut your mouth for the rest of the year. Because I'm just going to look at you and go, New York Giants in your home park. Shut your mouth. I don't care how many games you win from here on out. This is an ugly loss. If it was a bad loss for the Raiders, this was an ugly loss for Denver. And the only saving grace for Denver is it was not a conference game. It wasn't against somebody in the AFC, and it wasn't against someone in their division. That's the only saving grace of this loss.
I'm going to bring a different angle into this game, if you will.
Okay.
And, yes, for Denver, it is a bad loss. I am not going to disagree with you there. Okay? For the previous games of this season, Ben McAdoo called the plays on offense. This game in Denver, Ben McAdoo handed over the play calling duties to his offensive coordinator. Now, Anthony, you've been on the Ben McAdoo is a crap coach bandwagon, and you're fully leading that charge. And I think that she has gotten so hot in New York that they don't even need McAdoo anymore. And I say that because if McAdoo was calling plays and the Giants were 0-5, and he hands off the play calling duties to his offensive coordinator, the Giants are 1-0, they don't look good on you.
Nope.
That does not look good on you. If I had to say it a third time, I will. The Giants came in with a game plan to run the ball, like you had mentioned in your little synopsis, and they did run the ball. Orleans Darkman, okay, he had 117 yards rushing. First time all year they had a guy over 100 yards rushing. Eli looked pedestrian, but he wasn't forcing throws. He had no receivers really work, other than Roger Lewis and Evan Ingram. Sterling Shepard was out, but he's supposed to be back this week for them, which could provide a boost. So the Giants' defense played really well. They did capitalize on a turnover with pick six. Simeon looked like he was a rookie from last year. Okay, C.J. Anderson looked good running the ball, but because the Broncos were defending the pass all game, or actually trying to stop the run all game, Simeon ended up having 376 yards. The majority of those were in the second half. And they were down 20-3 for most of the night. So they got to 20-10. Giants ended up kicking another field goal after that.
Yeah.
So Denver also had some key injuries. Emmanuel Sanders sprained his ankle. He's out for the next week. He went out early in that game. Give the Giants credit. They came in. They said we're going to go to a tough environment. Let's smack them in the mouth and let's see them respond to Giant football. That was textbook 1980s Giants right there.
Oh yeah.
Even though Eli doesn't resemble Phil Simms or Jeff Hostetler.
No, he's better. He's better.
But Eli went in there poised. Was like, hey, nothing's gonna bother me. This defense doesn't scare me. Stop the run, I dare you.
Yeah.
He dared them. Darkman had 117 yards rushing. Giants came out with a 13-point win. And bad look on Denver, but you're right. It wasn't a conference game, so they can watch the tape, do what they need to do,
and move on,
and get back to playing their football.
I'm gonna be brief on this one. All I'm gonna say is Mariota's back, and I thought Mariota proved that he could be a pocket quarterback in this Monday night game. This was a crap Monday night game between two teams that don't really, I think Tennessee is a good team and they're worth watching. I think Indy's just a bad team that's benefited from a soft schedule. But in the end, I think Mariota proved to me that he could be a pocket quarterback and the type of quarterback we all hope he can be and think he can be. Think he can be is what I'm trying to say. So I really like the Titans in this game. I thought they proved something. They maybe got over some humps and some lumps, but we'll see what they do down the stretch. But if Mariota can do that from the pocket, when he gets his mobility back, they're going to be dangerous.
Yeah, and if you watched Mariota in that game, he did leave the pocket a couple times, and he even slid down, feet first before the line of scrimmage. I saw him once, so you knew his hamstring was still barking a little bit.
Yep.
And he didn't want to test it to where he ends up pulling it. He's out for multiple weeks. Man, I give Mariota a lot of credit in this game. For playing as well as he did, because I'm sure it's not easy, basically hobbling on one leg. They didn't look hobbled, I'm not saying that, but he looked tentative, okay? To me, he did at least.
Yeah.
This was a game of field goal kicking. There was like 7 field goals in this game. This game also resembled just how bad the Colts are. They need Andrew Luck back. They're not getting Andrew Luck back, not this year. I think Luck's done for the season. He got set back this week. And they pretty much think he's going to be out for the rest of the year, which they should now. Just cut the cord and say, you're not playing, you're going to redshirt. So it's basically Jacoby Brissett's game. He did okay. I'm not going to say he lit it up. He's still got a lot of learning to do. That fourth down call where it was 4th and 1, and he ended up bootlegging out to the right sideline. I just thought it was such a weird call. And then they challenged it, losing a timeout. You could use that timeout to get the ball back.
Yeah.
But when you use the timeouts and then give up a 72-yard touchdown run to Derrick Henry, basically icing the game, definitely icing the game. Ooh, man, and I don't know what to say about India. They're in a world of hurt this season. But Tennessee, if they can get Mariota to keep staying upright and play some Titans football and shore down the defense, Titans are going to be really tough in that AFC South. I mean, the AFC South is scrambled right now. Best teams are at 3-3, and then you have the Colts at 2-4. So it's going to be a crapshoot for all those teams in the AFC South. I mean, I don't like them in the playoffs against better opponents, but hey, you never know. Win and get in, and you never know what happens.
It's at that point, it's win or go home. It's a different environment. All right, I want to take the next few minutes to talk about the Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's one of the reasons why the Jaguars are 3-3 is because the Rams went into Jacksonville and won. Eric, you said that this was a game that you didn't think the Rams were going to win, that if they could win, it might turn some heads and get people kind of going on the bandwagon. They're number 3 in the power rankings, which means absolutely nothing to me. Power rankings have about as much use as urine in a cup of water. Not going to drink it and have no use for the cup now, thank you. And that's the power rankings. What I am excited about is that the Rams went in. I'm a little irritated that all of the special teams plays that I was calling for last week against Seattle showed up in this game. So I said there would be a big kick return and a block punt against Seattle. I was a week off. They opened the game with a kickoff return. Fournette got a 75-yard run and then was shut down the rest of the game. The Rams special teams really showed up, but they did exactly what we said they needed to do, Eric. They hit the middle of the field with the wide receivers. They ran the rock, and they shut the run down. Outside of Fournette's 75-yard scamper to start the game, the Rams locked it down. And their defense under Wade Phillips is getting better and better and better. Man, do I love John Johnson. Man, do I love that kid from BC. He is a stud. And then you throw in the fact that we've got Pharaoh Cooper returning kicks. And the best part of this game was, Eric, no Tavon Austin on the field. He was relatively non-existent. Gurley can run like that. If the Rams are going to be a running team, with Jared Goff being able to manage the game when needed and win the game when needed, and by win the game, I mean you don't win a game on the final drive. That's when you get the game-winning drive. But you really win games converting third down throughout the course of the game through the air when the running game falters to get the running game on track. And Jared Goff has been really good at that this year. I said all I want from Jared to be a successful quarterback is somebody who can convert third down, who can spread the ball around, and somebody who can move the sticks, because Gurley just needs an opportunity. One of the things that did irritate me was I'm reading about AFC Special Teams Player of the Week, and they said rookie Pharaoh Cooper. That's right, Ramley. You heard it. Rookie Pharaoh Cooper. Are you kidding me? You don't know about – that's how little the NFL Network knows about the Rams. They think Pharaoh Cooper's a rookie. Pharaoh Cooper and Tyler Higbee are not rookies. They're 2-year veterans, thank you very much. But I digress. Pharaoh Cooper's kick return really seemed to spark the team. The Rams' special teams play, though, the block punt, that turned the game around. It was as if the Rams defense said, that's it, no more, we're winning this game. And the Rams offense did exactly what they needed to do. They had a long time-consuming drive at the end of the game to take some time off the clock and pin Bortles deep, and then the defense did what the defense does. I just thought this was a complete win. Offense, special teams, they all showed up. And, as a Ram fan, I'm so excited about this because we're 3-0 on the road. Now, we have essentially another road game this week, even though it's a home game, which is ridiculous. I hate the London games, and I'm sure you'll rant about that on our pregame. And then they come home the following week, or then they have for a bye, but then they go back on the road against New York. So essentially, this is a 3-game road trip for the Rams. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams spent the week in New York too, just FYI on that. I think that wouldn't be a bad idea, but I don't know if the Rams are going to do that. I know they're flying out to London tomorrow after spending the week in Jacksonville, but I was so impressed with this win, Eric, because I thought it was a complete win. I would like to see the Rams use the receivers more, but Goff converting third down, defense playing well, special teams starting to step up, Gurley running the rock. Future looks bright for Los Angeles.
Yeah, what I see when I look at the stats the Rams stats from the game against the Jaguars?
What?
I see the Chicago Bears. Goff has Trubisky-like numbers. Gurley has Jordan Howard-like numbers. Guys, I'm kidding. I really wanted you guys to laugh. I'm kidding. I'm definitely 100% kidding.
I was gonna choke you. Actually, I don't think we were laughing. I think we were ready to strangle you.
No, I'm totally joking. If the Rams and Bears played right now, I would take the Rams. I would take the Rams because they're not in the AFC North. Again, I'm kidding. Listen, Goff did what he had to do. Okay, they didn't ask him to do much. He attempted 21 passes. Okay, so of course when you're asked to throw the ball 21 times, your yardage is not going to be there. Which don't let that mislead you. Okay, Gurley had 23 carries for 116 yards. That's the Gurley that should have showed up last week. The offensive coordinator should have given it Gurley last week against the Rams. That's what I like to see. That's what I've been talking about. You got to get your belt out of those carries. Did they shut Fournette down? Well, 20 carries for 65 yards after the 75-yard run. Yeah, I mean, sure, that's like 3.25 yards a carry type of thing. So, in essence, yeah, he could have done that 3 times, and guess what? He wasn't getting a first down. You get it by half a yard that you missed the first down by. So, yeah, they shut Fournette down after that run. This game was crazy to watch on Gamecast. Okay, I turned on my iPad. I was following my fantasy team, and I'm watching. I'm like, holy crap, the Rams are up 7-0 already. I was like, okay. Oh, Fournette did what? Oh, okay, it's gonna be one of those games. And then the Rams just started taking over. With the blocked kicks, I was like, holy cow, they came to play. And I was really impressed that they were able to keep Jacksonville at bay. Bortles played decently.
He did.
This is probably one of his better games that he's played this year at home against the Rams. I'm surprised he did it at home because it wasn't in London. But 241 yards passing, yeah, he did have a pick. The Rams got to him 5 times for sacks. So they were able to pressure him on. That's the Rams defense that we've been missing this whole year. Yep. And they decided to show up on the East Coast in Jacksonville and out of their own home park. I don't get it, but hey, it's football. We've been thinking like crap this week.
Yeah.
This season so far. I think the next week when we make our picks, it's going to be easier. This is the Rams game, and I told you I didn't feel good picking the Rams against the Jaguars, and I'll eat my crow here. But they did what they had to do. Proud of the organization for going there. Proud of the players for going to Jacksonville, going into a game against a Jekyll and Hyde team you didn't know who you were going to get.
Yeah.
Okay? So you could see at times that Jacksonville was Jekyll, and then at other times they were Hyde. And that's the best way you can talk about Jacksonville right now. Yeah. Now, when they play their next game, hey, they could lose to the Browns. Who knows? But I'm not saying they're playing the Browns next.
Right.
That's the type of team they are. Rams made a statement on the road. I'm not saying it's a tough environment because Jacksonville's never been known as a tough environment, but it's never easy to win on the road.
Especially from the West Coast, yeah.
Yeah, no matter where you go. So, kudos to them for going into Jacksonville, staying in Jacksonville, going to London, because that is going to limit their flight time back and forth to coast.
Yeah.
So, kudos to the organization for pointing that out and recognizing that. For Gurley to get back on his A game, it seemed like they were missing him for a week and a half, or a game and a half. And, again, the only other thing they need to do if Goff is asked to win a game with his arm is get Watkins involved. That's really the last thing you guys need to do, except, stop the run and, limit the amount of yards after contact.
Yeah. It's funny, Eric. A lot of the fans were commenting that, and I think this is why people really enjoy listening to our show is because I got a lot of comments saying, Anthony, you called it. You and Eric called it. You guys called it during the game. We said the Rams needed to get Gurley involved. That's obviously what the Rams did. All the things we talked about in the pregame is what the Rams accomplished. My special teams prediction was only a week off. And I think that might have caught some people by surprise too if they were looking at that going, man, Anthony talked about this last week against Seattle, but it showed up this week on the road against Jacksonville. I just felt like the Rams special teams was ready to have a breakout game. And I figured Seattle was the time to do it because they were home and it wasn't something Seattle's been strong at. Obviously, it showed up a week later, but I think it was a big win for the Rams. It makes them 4-2, and now they have a chance to get some real separation in the league. They win this, they go 5-2. Seattle's got a tough one this week. Not really, I'm joking. They play the Giants, so you need to win to keep pace on them. Hit the bye week and hope that the Seahawks stumble down the road. Maybe get that game back when you play them in Seattle. But this is a big one against Arizona, and we'll cover that one for sure. But there is one game we got to cover this week before we wrap this show up, and that's Kansas City at Oakland. I'm not picking the Raiders. I think the Chiefs are going to come out pissed. I think they're going to come out with a vengeance, and I think they are going to lay the smacketh down all over the Oakland Raiders. I won't be surprised if Oakland loses this thing 27-10. I think Kareem Hunt's going to have a big day. I don't think the Raiders defense has an answer for the Chiefs offense, and I think the Chiefs defense is going to play mad, and I'm actually legitimately concerned for the health of Derek Carr.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I think Kansas City comes out with a vengeance, ticked off that they lost to Pittsburgh at home. They're going to take it out on the division full. Who they typically own the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And it seems like Oakland hasn't had an answer for Kansas City. You know, if Kansas City gets to Derek Carr early and often, it's going to be a long night, and I wouldn't be surprised if Carr might not finish the game. Now, I'm not saying he's going to get injured. You know, his back could tighten up. They could hit him, you know, in part of the back to where it doesn't feel good to where he's out for the rest of the game. Not season ending, you know, not, you know, going to be out multiple weeks, but making him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, in order for the Raiders to win this game, I think they need to unleash their ground game and just let Marshawn run wild. But I think Kansas City's up for the challenge. Big day from Kareem Hunt, and I think you're going to see Travis Kelce with over 100 yards receiving.
Yeah, I think they're going to utilize him for sure. All right, now before we leave, I want to tell the fans something. So out there in the Ramily, just so you know, it's Eric's birthday tomorrow. So he's not here. Now, I'm not going to embarrass him by singing him happy birthday, but here's what I want the Ramily to do. Since he is a part of this show, and it's me and him together doing the show, here's what I want from you. I want you guys to comment on what kind of a job you think Eric does as an analyst. Obviously, I know you guys like me. You subscribe to me. You know my show. What I want to see is what you guys think of Eric. So blow me up with replies on what you think about the job Eric does on the show and how much you enjoy him being on the show, because after all, he is a birthday boy tomorrow. So be nice, but be honest, and we will grow together in this show and make it great and make it even better. But he needs to know what kind of a job he does, so give him a shout out. Eric, that's my birthday gift to you. I'm bringing the Ramily to you with a compliment. I've got nothing left to say. What do you got to say, buddy?
I appreciate it. I'd like to know what others think about the two-headed monster that we have going on here. You know, I enjoy talking about another team because it definitely opens up the NFL world to, you know, other types of comments, other types of suggestions, other avenues, I should say. And it just doesn't focus me on one team. So it really provides me a different perspective of what you guys do, of how your team is progressing. And I, you know, really enjoy talking Rams football. And I'm glad they're back in LA. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with their new stadium and their new uniform digs. I really hope they go back to yellow.
Yeah.
And it's just, it works. Like, every time, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to bring this up. Every time I see highlights of the 85 Rams-Bears NFC Championship game, you know, just because they were wearing white, I love the yellow that's in their uniforms. And then when you're watching Dickerson in your highlights run down the field, and he's wearing blue and yellow, it's good for the NFL. It's good for football. It's good for the Ram family.
Yeah. Appreciate that, buddy. All right. Well, on behalf of me and Eric, Go Rams! We'll see you next week.